They say when a woman wants to start over, nothing can stop her. Not love, not vows, not even a child. Emily Carter, me wife of 7 years, the girl I loved through college, the woman I married when we were broke and sleeping on benches, fell in love with a college kid. And just like that, she wanted me out of the picture. Ryan's not after my money, she told me, like that made it noble. He just wants to be recognized. He wants a place beside me. So what was I? Her starter husband. Her stepping stone. I was there when she had nothing. When we shared cold sandwiches for dinner, when we counted coins at gas stations, when our so-called bed was the floor of a train station. She was the woman I gave everything to. And now that we made it, now that the business took off and people finally knew our names, she wanted someone younger. Fresher. She looked me in the eye and said, "James, whenever I see you, I remember the days I couldn't afford to eat. I remember sleeping with rats and mold and fear." Then she added, with a straight face, "You're the one stain on my otherwise brilliant life." Ryan Kim, on the other hand, was the bright-eyed college boy who looked at her like she hung the moon. He made her feel young and exciting, like she mattered. So she pushed for the divorce. Quick and clean. We stood in front of City Hall, finalizing the paperwork. That was the first time I ever saw Ryan in person. Early 20s. Big smile. Cocky walk. He looked so much like I did back in college, it was insulting. As soon as we stepped out, he practically skipped toward her like some overexcited Labrador and threw his arms around her. "Careful," she giggled, brushing his hair back, like I wasn't even standing there. "Sorry, babe," he said, flashing me the fakest grin ever. Then he reached into his bag and pulled out a box of wedding candy. "First pack we're giving out," he said, shoving it into my hand. "Big bro, hope it brings you some luck too." My fingers clenched around the divorce decree. Emily didn't flinch. She just smiled and added, "By the way, Ryan has a son. His ex left the kid with him. I'm helping raise him now. We're heading inside to register the marriage." I didn't say a word. What was the point? I just walked away. But Ryan, like the oblivious brat he was, tried to add me on social media right in front of her. "You've raised Emily so well," he gushed. "She's so thoughtful, so warm." "Thank you. I'd love to ask for advice on raising my boy. First time dad, super nervous." Emily tried to stop him, clearly uncomfortable. But I smiled and added him back, just to piss her off. Later, she texted me directly, "James, if you're mad, take it out on me. Don't mess with Ryan. He's simple, kind, and has a child to raise. Please don't hurt him." I didn't reply. I was too busy remembering. Remembering the 2 months we lived off nothing but stale bread. The nights we spent wrapped in one jacket. The promises she whispered while I massaged her blistered feet. And now she was acting like I was some ghost haunting her new life. Like our past was a curse she couldn't scrub off. Things between us had been strained for a while. Once the business took off, people started treating her like a goddess. Praising her intelligence, her leadership, her charm. The more others praised her, the more she resented the fact I once saw her at rock bottom. If I ever disagreed with her in meetings, no matter how gently or logically, she thought I was trying to embarrass her. "You think I'm still that pathetic broke girl, don't you?" she'd snap. "Don't deny it. You look at me like I owe you something." The tension boiled over the night she came home drunk from a networking dinner. She practically attacked me, yanking off my robe, dragging me into bed. We hadn't touched each other in months. Her sudden passion caught me off guard. I gave in until the moment she moaned another man's name. "Ryan," my whole body went cold. I froze beneath her, my mind blank, my chest hollow. The room was pitch dark. The silence after was louder than any argument we'd ever had. I stared at the ceiling while tears soaked the pillow. Emily smoked her last cigarette and said without emotion, "Let's just get divorced." Then, like reading from a script, she listed all the things she was tired of. "Your cologne. That damn gray suit. Your shaving foam all over the bathroom. The way nothing ever changes. I don't want to live like this anymore. I'm done compromising. Say what you want in the divorce, I'll agree, just let us go." She packed and left that same night. I argued, begged, lost sleep. But none of it worked. She was determined. The only thing she still cared about was our son, Zach. She didn't want to tell him the truth just yet, said it'd break his heart. "Tell him I'm working overseas," she said, eyes cold but trembling slightly. "He's only 3. He'll understand later." But Zach didn't forget. He missed her constantly, asking when she'd come home. One night, while I was doing laundry, he sneaked off with my phone and called her on video. I heard a voice chirp through the speaker, "Hey, buddy." But it wasn't her, it was Ryan. Zach scrunched his little face. "Who are you? Why do you have my mom's phone?" Ryan chuckled. "I'm your mom's, Zach." I snatched the phone away and hung up immediately. My boy started crying. I knelt beside him, hugging him close, whispering apologies over and over. He cried so hard he eventually passed out in my arms, hiccuping in his sleep, tiny fists clutching my shirt like I was the last thing he had. Later that night, I opened my phone again and saw Ryan's new social post, "1-year anniversary with Emily, 2 hearts, so grateful for your love and companionship. Here's to our little family of 3. Attached was a photo of them holding hands. Their smiles were blinding. I remembered the time we got our first big contract. Emily had dragged me to a jewelry store to celebrate. She wanted to buy me a Rolex. I refused, too expensive, so we settled on a starter mechanical watch. As we walked out of the mall, I held up my wrist, letting sunlight filter through the gears. She gripped both my hands and promised, "James, I'll make you proud. I'll never let you regret choosing me." But she did. She let me regret everything. And that was just the beginning. Zach kept asking for her. Every night. He'd wake up with his tiny arms reaching toward the empty space beside him, eyes dazed, whispering, "Mommy," like it still made sense. I told him she was working far away, just like Emily instructed. But even a 3-year-old knows when someone disappears. He missed her, not the excuse. The pain hit me most the night Zach got excited about his birthday. "Can Mommy come celebrate?" he asked, eyes shining with hope. I didn't have the heart to say no. So I texted Emily. She agreed to come by early and bring a cake. I should have known better. The moment she walked in with bags of snacks, decorations, and a cute little surprise cake Ryan ordered for Zach, I felt that familiar warning siren go off in my head. But I smiled. For Zach. He wore his favorite superhero costume and laughed like everything was perfect. At lunch, he closed his eyes tight, pressed his hands together, and made a wish before blowing out the candles. "Daddy," he whispered, tugging on my arm, "guess what I wished for?" I pretended to think. "A new Ultraman toy." He giggled and shook his head. Then he grabbed my hand and Emily's, pressing them together. "I wished Mommy and Daddy would always be with me." My throat burned. Emily's smile faltered. Zach handed out slices of cake, one for himself, one for each of us. I barely touched mine. He devoured his. Then, the nightmare began. He started scratching his neck, chest, arms, red rashes flaring up like fire. His breathing got shallow. His eyes wide with panic. "Daddy hurts, itchy, can't breathe," my heart dropped. I scooped him into my arms and rushed to the ER, running every red light on the way. Zach was in full-blown anaphylactic shock. He was allergic to peanuts. We found out during a health scare last year. It was on every medical note. I'd even told Emily myself. But that cake. That surprise from Ryan contained peanut cream. In the ER waiting room, I paced like a madman while doctors worked on my son. And then Ryan Kim had the nerve to show up, looking pale and helpless. James the First didn't know. I swear. I didn't know he was allergic, he said, eyes red like he wanted a sympathy badge. Emily wrapped an arm around him protectively. It's not his fault, she said. He was just trying to be nice, to get along with Zach. I stood there, watching the two of them, her coddling him pretending to cry while barely holding back a smirk. I couldn't hold it in. I walked up and slapped him. Hard. His head jerked to the side. If my son dies, I'll make sure both you and that bastard child of yours pay for it, I growled. He looked stunned. Emily stepped between us and shoved me. What the hell is wrong with you? She screamed. Ryan was just trying to help. It was an accident. An accident? I stared her down. You live with my son. You're his mother. You knew. And you still let him buy that cake. I didn't check, she tried. Exactly. You didn't care enough to check. The doctor finally walked out and said Zach was stable. I thanked him with shaking hands and rushed to the room. My son lay there, covered in rashes, breathing through an oxygen mask, exhausted from crying. That moment changed something in me. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to make them pay the way people like them feared most, quietly, strategically, thoroughly. Over the next few days, I calmed down and planned. Emily tried to call, didn't answer. Ryan texted apologies, I ignored him. Then one evening, I showed up at Emily's office holding a sleek gift bag. She was surprised to see me, naturally. James, she blinked, putting down her pen. I haven't heard from you, I've been thinking, I said, setting the bag on her desk. About that night. I overreacted. I'm sorry I hit Ryan. It wasn't right. Her eyes narrowed. You're really apologizing? Yes, I nodded. We're all parents here. Ryan's new to this. I brought him something. Just a small token. She peeked inside designer wallet. Elegant. Clean. Expensive, but tasteful. And, I added, Zach's been missing you. If you're free tonight, come by. Her expression shifted from suspicion to relief. Of course. I'd love to. That night, watching her in our home again, felt surreal. She and Zach played Lego while I made dinner. When my dad came by to check in, I pulled him aside. What's going on? He asked, frowning. You're reconciling with her? I snorted. No. I just want her to feel what I felt. Then why bring her back? He asked. I glanced through the glass at Emily and Zach laughing on the carpet. Because you don't hit someone like her with fists. You hit her where it hurt: status, pride, security. When it was time to put Zach to bed, I staggered slightly, faking a dizzy spell. Emily rushed over and steadied me. You okay? Zach, ever the actor, jumped in. Daddy's been sick. He's still taking medicine and taking care of me. He's so pitiful, Mommy. Can't you stay with us tonight? And she did. That night, after Zach fell asleep between us, I snapped a photo of their joined hands and posted it online with a caption, Zach had a good night tonight. Emily saw the post. Within minutes, Ryan was blowing up her phone. She left in a hurry. But that was just phase 1. 2 weeks later, our company got invited to a big fashion industry gala. Emily and I were both attending. Perfect. The event was glamorous. Rooftop garden, twinkling lights, champagne in crystal glasses. A bunch of international partners who didn't know we were divorced. Some of them cared a lot about family image. So naturally, Emily needed me to play the perfect partner. I smiled, held her arm, toasted with the guests. "You two are such a power couple," they said. "Still so in sync." I let them believe it. When we finally found a quiet spot, Emily leaned in. "I thought you'd decline my invite." "Why would I?" I said smoothly. "I helped build this company with you. And you pay great child support. I'm just doing my job." She laughed, maybe genuinely. "Tonight's the first time I've felt relaxed in months," she said. "Let me guess," I said, "you and Ryan had a fight." She shrugged. "Kind of. He's trying his best. First-time dads have it rough." "You never told me you struggled so much with Zach," she said quietly. "You were always so calm. Because you were running the company. I didn't want to add to your plate." Her eyes softened. For a moment, the air between us changed. But before it went further, the organizers announced a group photo. I made sure to wrap my arm around hers, smile just enough, and tilt my face toward the flash. Later, when that photo hit the media, social platforms exploded. Trending, Emily Carter and James Walker, still the dream team? Of course Ryan saw it. I wanted him to. I left the party early. Emily offered to drop me home. I declined. I didn't need her pity, just her guilt. She got home close to midnight. Drunk. The driver practically carried her to the couch. Ryan was waiting. Not with a blanket. With accusations. "Who were you with?" he hissed. "Why didn't you answer your phone? You were with him, weren't you?" She tried brushing him off, mumbled about needing soup. He stormed into the bathroom, returned with a basin of cold water, and dumped it on her face. "Say it. You're still in love with him, aren't you?" he screamed. Emily gasped and sat up, soaked. "If it were James," she snapped, "he'd take care of me. He'd cook for me. He'd never yell like a maniac." Ryan lost it. She locked herself in the guest room. And in the early morning hours, she showed up at my house, drenched in rain, clutching the spare key I left years ago for my dad. "I didn't know where else to go," she said, shivering. I gave her soup. A towel. A moment to feel human again. She looked at me, desperate. "James, the first regret everything. If I had another chance, I'd never leave you." I stared at her. "You're still married," I said quietly. "Don't say that while wearing someone else's ring." But I knew this wasn't over. She was cracking. Ryan was unraveling. And I was just getting started. Emily stayed the night in the guest room. Not that I wanted her to. But Ryan was watching from outside, his red car parked under the streetlight like a sore loser stalking his ex. I saw him through the blinds, engine off, headlights dimmed. He probably thought he was being stealthy. So I let her stay. Not because I forgave her. But because if jealousy was a match, I wanted to be the gasoline. The next morning, just as I was about to make coffee, someone knocked on the door. I opened it and saw Sarah Lee standing there, still in her business casual clothes, holding a bag of breakfast takeout. She blinked at me. Then her eyes shifted behind my shoulder. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she smirked. "What's with the face?" I didn't get a chance to answer. A voice came from inside. "Who is it?" "Emily." And just like that, everything froze for a second. Sarah raised a perfectly shaped brow, her lips curving into a knowing smile. Oh, she whispered, leaning in, so the ghost is real after all. Before I could react, Zach came sprinting down the stairs in his pajamas. "Auntie Sarah," he yelled, jumping into her arms. Apparently while Zach had been recovering from his allergic reaction, Sarah had been visiting often, bringing toys and playing games with him. They'd bonded faster than I expected. She knelt down, laughing, and pulled a small toy car from her purse. "I brought more goodies. Let's go play." Then she looked up at me and handed me the bag. "Eat before it gets cold." And just like that, she walked in with the calm confidence of someone who didn't need permission. Emily stood awkwardly near the doorway, arms crossed, unsure whether to act annoyed or defensive. Sarah breezed right past her, humming as if she owned the place. During breakfast, Sarah peeled hard-boiled eggs for me while subtly tossing side eyes at Emily. "Oops," she said sweetly, "didn't know there was another guest. I didn't buy an extra meal. My bad." Emily took a sip of water, pretending not to care. "It's okay. I'm not hungry." The air was thicker than black coffee. Zach, oblivious, babbled about cartoons while stacking blocks. After a few hours, Emily got a call from her assistant and had to leave. She leaned in to kiss Zach goodbye, but he was too busy showing Sarah his latest Lego build. He gave his mom a distracted air kiss and kept playing. Her smile cracked for a second before she muttered, "I'll call later," and walked out stiffly. When the door shut, Sarah leaned back on the couch and raised an eyebrow. "Okay," she said. "You need to tell me what game you're playing here." I shrugged. "Who says I'm playing?" "Oh please," she scoffed. "You let your ex-wife crash here for the night while your 3-year-old calls me auntie. Either you've got a death wish, or you're plotting something cold." I smiled. "Let's just say I'm taking back what's mine." I told her everything about the peanut allergy, the birthday cake, Ryan's shady behavior, the fake apology, the buried rage. Her face darkened. "He did that? To a child?" "To my son," I said. "He knew. And even if he didn't, he should've." Sarah stood up and walked to the window, watching Zach play. "Then burn them both down," she said. "Whatever it takes, I'll cover you." The next few weeks were quiet. At least on the surface. But behind the scenes, I was collecting receipts. I started casually showing up at the office again. Emily had left me the company's real estate division post-divorce, so I had every right to be there. Most people didn't dare gossip in front of me. But I saw the whispers. The glances. The shift in their tone when they realized I wasn't some bitter ex lurking in the shadows. I was still very much in the game. I waited until the end of the fiscal quarter. Everyone was buried in spreadsheets and audit deadlines. The perfect time to stir the pot. One night, after a long round of financial reconciliation, I noticed Emily's office light still on. So I took a photo of the coffee cup on my desk and posted it to my feed with the caption, "Late Night Grind." Thanks for the coffee, yellow heart. It wasn't from her, of course. I bought it myself. But Ryan didn't know that. Predictably, about 30 minutes later, our department director handed me the final quarterly reports and asked me to deliver them to Emily directly. "You sure?" I asked. "Shouldn't Jessica be doing that? She left early." "I trust you more, anyway." "Perfect." I walked into Emily's office, holding both the reports and a small box of digestive medicine. "Heard your stomach's been acting up again," I said, placing it beside her keyboard. "Same brand I used to buy you." Her expression softened. She stared at the box like it was a message in a bottle. "You always did bring me this one," she murmured. I leaned over her desk, explaining key figures on the report, making sure to stand just close enough that our faces nearly touched. When I turned slightly to point at a graph, our eyes met. Her breath hitched. "James," she said softly, can you go back to wearing your old cologne? That cologne she used to say made her gag. I raised an eyebrow. You told me it made you sick. I changed my mind, she whispered. It smells like home. Before I could answer, she reached out and gently touched my face. Her fingers barely grazed my jaw, then the door slammed open. What the hell is going on here? Ryan Kim stood in the doorway, red-faced, chest heaving, looking like a rejected soap opera villain. Without a word, he marched over and threw a glass of water at me. I could have dodged. I didn't. I wanted this. Ryan, stop. Emily yelled, rushing to block him. We're working. Oh, please, Ryan snapped. Working? With your hands on his face. We're just going over numbers, don't insult my intelligence, he shouted. You've been ignoring me for days. Is this why? I took a step back, wiping water from my face, staying quiet like the victim I wasn't. You think I'm stupid, he screamed. You two deserve each other. He turned to storm off, but not before shouting, I'm not leaving without my son. The moment he said that, I knew he slipped up. I filed that sentence away for later. Emily chased after him, trying to calm him down. But I didn't follow. I left the building through the side exit and sat in my car, windows up, playing that scene over and over in my head. He was cracking. Emily was confused. And I was almost there. The next day, she tried to act like nothing happened. Invited me to lunch. Said she wanted to talk about Zach. I declined. She sent me a message that night, I never should have left you. I didn't reply. But I did forward her a clip. A private audio recording from my lunch with Ryan the week before. Where he confessed loud and clear that the birthday cake had been intentional. That Zach was just the only thing connecting you two, and, if he wasn't around, Emily would stop looking back. That was the final nail. I waited. Let her marinate in it. The next morning, Emily filed for divorce. Again. Only this time, with Ryan. And this time, she didn't leave with a smile. But I wasn't done yet. Not until Ryan Kim paid legally, financially, and personally. And not until Emily Carter knew exactly how much it cost to betray the man who built her entire world from nothing. The day Emily filed for divorce from Ryan, the whole office buzzed like someone had dropped a grenade in the break room. No one said it out loud, of course, but the look said everything. Jessica, her assistant, looked like she was walking on eggshells. The HR manager kept glancing at her door like waiting for it to explode. And me? I just sipped my coffee, finished my quarterly report, and waited for the dominoes to fall. Emily didn't come into the office that morning. I knew she wouldn't. Too much pride. But I did get a call around noon from her. Can I come see Zach tonight? She asked, voice soft, almost unsure. Of course, I said. He misses you. And that was true. For all the pain she caused, Zach still asked for her every time he saw a new cloud in the sky, thinking she was flying home. That evening, she showed up earlier than usual, carrying a gift bag and a guilt-heavy smile. She played with Zach in the living room while I made dinner. She kept stealing glances at me from behind the Lego towers, and when I handed her a bowl of soup at the table, she said, "You always made the best meals." Even now, I still can't cook to save my life. I didn't say anything. I just placed the bowl down and turned back to the stove. James, she tried again. About everything I made mistakes. I see that now. I didn't respond. She waited. I stayed silent. She finally added, "Ryan's gone. I'm handling it. I promise you I'm done being stupid." I turned to face her. You think I'm waiting for you? Her face fell. What? You think I'm here like some placeholder, hoping you'll come crawling back. I shook my head. I'm raising Zach. I'm building back the life you helped destroy. That's all I care about. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. Eat your soup. The next day, she returned to work like nothing had happened. Polished hair, black heels, perfect red lipstick, like she hadn't just burned her life down. But people noticed. Whispers followed her like perfume. I didn't interfere. Not yet. Not until the charity gala. The Walker Group had been invited to a high-profile charity event hosted at a luxury rooftop garden downtown, and I knew Emily needed me there. The guests were the kind who cared about image, family values, philanthropy, and clean reputations. Most of them didn't know we were divorced. And Emily didn't want them to. She texted me, "I need you as my partner for this event." For appearances. I replied with a simple thumbs-up emoji. That night, I put on a tailored suit, drove to the venue, and walked in like nothing was out of place. We greeted donors, posed for photos, even toasted glasses like old times. Still the golden couple, someone whispered behind us. They look so in sync. Emily smiled through it all. She even laughed a little too easily at my jokes, as if hoping I'd laugh back and forget the last year of betrayal. During the dinner, we were seated side by side at the head table. When dessert arrived, she leaned in and whispered, "You look really good tonight." "You needed me to," I replied without looking at her. Her smile faltered. After the final toast, the photographers gathered us for a group picture. I wrapped an arm around her waist just long enough to make it convincing and looked directly at the camera with the smile I'd perfected over the years, the one that said I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. The next morning, that photo was everywhere. Social media, corporate press releases, shareholder newsletters. It even hit trending, "Power couple returns." That alone would have been enough to break Ryan. But what came after shattered him completely. That afternoon, I received a call from Sarah. "Guess who showed up at the clinic today?" she said. "Your favorite emotional wreck." "Ryan?" I asked. She hummed. "He looked like a raccoon that got hit by a Lexus. Claimed he had a stomach ulcer. More like an ego ulcer." "What did you tell him?" "That we don't treat jealous ex-husbands." Then I gave him a mint and sent him out. I laughed for the first time in days. But it didn't last long. That night, Emily showed up at my door again. Rain was pouring. Her hair was soaked. Her eyeliner was smeared. "Can I come in?" she asked, voice hoarse. I stepped aside without a word. She sat on the edge of the couch, twisting her fingers like a schoolgirl caught cheating. "Ryan flipped out," she said. "After seeing the pictures he lost it. Started screaming, throwing things. Said I was humiliating him." "And were you?" I asked. She looked up at me. "I didn't mean to." "But you did." She fell silent. I sat across from her, resting my arms on my knees. "Why are you really here, Emily?" "I miss my family," she said. "I miss Zach. I miss us." "There is no us," I said quietly. "You chose someone else. And I regret it." "You regret that he's not me," I corrected. "That's not the same." Her eyes welled up, and for a second, she looked like the girl I once held during freezing nights, the girl who promised me forever in a room that smelled like mildew and hope. "James, if I took off this ring," she held up her hand, "would you give us another chance?" "I don't answer hypotheticals," I said. "Especially not from someone who only comes back when it's convenient." She dropped her hand. "Then let me stay the night. Just for Zach." "Guest rooms made," I said. But I wasn't doing it for her. I spotted Ryan's red car parked down the street again. Let him stew. Let him go insane with the idea of her staying here, in the house we once bought together, sleeping under the same roof as me. I let the curtain fall back into place. And I smiled. The next morning, before anyone woke up, Sarah came by unannounced with breakfast. She walked in, saw Emily's shoes at the doorway, and her smile didn't even flinch. "I see your houseguest's back." "Temporary," I said. "You sure about that?" she asked. "She looked awfully cozy on the porch swing last night." I didn't reply. Zach came running down and jumped into Sarah's arms, asking about the toys she promised. She winked and said, "All in the trunk, little man." When we sat down for breakfast, Sarah casually peeled an egg and said, "Sorry, Emily. Didn't know there'd be an extra mouth. Didn't get you anything." Emily, trying to save face, lifted her water glass. "It's fine. I'm not hungry." "Suit yourself," Sarah said, biting into a croissant. "James eats a lot these days. Must be all the peace and quiet." The tension hung thick in the air. Emily eventually excused herself when her phone rang. "Work emergency," probably just an excuse to breathe. Once she was gone, Sarah leaned closer. "You better not fall for this act," she said. "I've seen this story before, and it always ends the same way with you bleeding and her walking away again." "Don't worry," I said. "This time, I'm the one writing the ending." The moment Sarah said she'd seen this story before, I knew she wasn't wrong. I'd seen it too. A woman leaves the man who built her up, chases some shiny new fantasy, then tries to crawl back when the thrill fades and the reality bites. But unlike every other tragic idiot in those stories, I wasn't going to give her a second shot at ruining me. I'd already buried the old version of myself, the one who stayed up late folding her laundry, cooking her favorite meals, scheduling her dentist appointments, the one who believed love meant sacrifice. That man died somewhere between the divorce papers and the allergic reaction that almost took Zach's life. And what rose from those ashes was someone she no longer recognized. And that was exactly the point. A few days later, Emily called again. This time it wasn't about Zach. It was about a gala hosted by one of our biggest overseas partners, a major PR event for the Walker Group. She wanted me to go with her, not just as an ex-husband or a co-founder, but as her +1. "We need to look strong," she said. "United." "I thought we weren't united," I replied. "That was before," she said. "Before what?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Before I realized you were the only one who ever truly had my back." I let a pause hang in the air just long enough to make her uncomfortable. Then I said, "Fine. I'll go. For the company." That evening, I arrived at the event with her on my arm. She looked stunning, like always, tight black dress, hair curled in soft waves, a pair of diamond earrings I had bought her 3 years ago still dangling from her ears like forgotten promises. We smiled for the cameras. We shook hands. We gave interviews. And we played the part of the perfect couple. At one point, an old business partner clinked his glass with mine and said, "Glad to see you two made it through the storm. Real love always finds its way back." Emily blushed. I stayed quiet. Because that wasn't love anymore. That was strategy. After the event, she offered to drive me home. I declined. I told her I had another meeting. But I didn't. I just didn't want to sit beside her in that enclosed space, listening to her pretend we were okay again. Instead, I went back to my apartment and opened the file I'd been building for months: emails, messages, receipts, and most importantly, the voice recording of Ryan Kim bragging about how he intentionally gave Zach that peanut-filled cake. It was time. I had Sarah run it through her legal contacts, confirming what I already suspected: this wasn't just negligence, it bordered on attempted harm. A few days later, I invited Emily to the house under the pretense of discussing Zach's school admission forms. When she arrived, I sat her down on the couch and handed her a USB drive. "What's this?" she asked. "Play it," I said. She plugged it into her laptop. For the first 30 seconds, she was confused. Then she heard Ryan's voice, "If Zach's gone, she'll have nothing left tying her to that loser. And I'll have everything." Her face turned white. Then red. Then something in between fury and disbelief. She didn't say a word. Just played it again. And again. He said he loved Zach," she whispered. "He lied," I said. "To you. To himself. And nearly killed our son in the process." Her hands trembled. "What do you want me to do?" I looked her dead in the eye. "I want you to end it. Not quietly. Not politely. I want the world to know what kind of man he really is." And to her credit, she did. Emily filed for an immediate annulment. Then she sued Ryan for endangering a child, using the evidence I gave her. It wasn't just about revenge, it was a full-blown media scandal. Headlines exploded: Carter's CEO ends marriage amidst allegations of child endangerment. Ryan was arrested, denied bail, and charged with reckless endangerment. He claimed it was all a misunderstanding, a bad joke. But the voice recording didn't lie. And when the judge heard it, neither did the gavel. 3 years in prison. No parole. No sympathy. On the day Emily received her final divorce decree from Ryan, she came to my door in the rain again just like before, but this time with tears in her eyes and not a single ring on her finger. "It's done," she said. "He's out of my life." "And now?" I asked. "What do you want from me?" "I want a second chance," she said. "Not for the company. Not for appearances. For us. For Zach. For everything we used to be." I stepped aside and let her in. She looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. "This house always felt like home," she said. "Even when I wasn't here." "Don't romanticize it," I told her. "You left. You made your choice. And I paid for it," she said. "Every day I woke up next to a man who wasn't you, I felt like I was suffocating. So why didn't you come back sooner?" "Because I didn't think I deserved to," she whispered. "But I'm here now. I'll do anything." I didn't answer. I just looked at her. And in that moment, I finally saw her for what she was: not the woman I used to love, but a woman who destroyed the only thing that ever truly loved her. I let her stay the night for Zach's sake. For closure. But while she was asleep in the guest room, I took my phone, opened my notes app, and typed one word: endgame. Because this wasn't over. Not yet. The morning after Emily stayed the night, I found her in the kitchen wearing one of my old hoodies, holding a mug like we were still married. Like nothing ever happened. "I was thinking of making breakfast," she said. "Zach loves pancakes, right?" I just nodded, not looking at her. She moved around like she belonged, but I could see it in her eyes: hesitation, like she knew deep down I hadn't truly forgiven her. That I never would. She wanted to pretend this was a new beginning, but for me, it was just the final act. Later that afternoon, after she left to attend a board meeting, I opened my laptop and pulled up the revised ownership documents she'd handed me weeks ago: shares, assets, accounts. After everything that had happened, she had signed over most of it to Zach. Not to me. To him. Which meant, legally, I was now the guardian of everything she'd ever worked for. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just closed the file and got back to work. The real twist came that evening when Emily called. Her voice was tight. "Can we meet tonight? Just for a little while." "Where?" I asked. "Your place." "Sure," I said. "Drive safe." She never made it. Somewhere between the turnoff on Hollow Creek and the intersection by 5th, she ran a red light. Witnesses said it was raining, her vision was bad, and a truck had the right of way. The crash was instant. The hospital called me while I was reading Zach a bedtime story. I answered with a strange calm, as if I already knew. When I arrived, she was barely holding on. Tubes in her nose, bruises down her arms, face pale like paper. "Mr. Walker," the nurse whispered, "she asked to see you." I stepped into the room and stood beside her. She looked up at me, barely conscious. I didn't say her name. I didn't hold her hand. She struggled to speak, and I leaned in. Her voice cracked, dry as dust. "James, I'm sorry, I know," I said. She blinked slowly, as if trying to stay awake. "I really loved you." I tilted my head. "Then why didn't you stay?" She didn't answer. Her lips trembled, and her eyes flooded. Her heart monitor started beeping faster, and a nurse rushed in. They asked me to step out. 30 minutes later, she was gone. Just like that. No grand final kiss. No whispered promises. No dramatic deathbed confession that could change anything. I walked out of the hospital under a sky so blue it felt insulting. The sun was shining. Birds were chirping. And the woman who once promised to grow old with me was zipped into a body bag. I didn't cry. Not even at her funeral. Her relatives barely showed. Her parents were long gone. Her cousins were more concerned about inheritance paperwork. It didn't matter anyway, everything now legally belonged to Zach. The empire she tried to rebuild with Ryan, the company we built together from nothing, the house she abandoned, the car she crashed in, it all came back to us. To me. That was the last joke she didn't live long enough to get. A week after the funeral, I stood in front of her grave with Zach, who didn't fully understand what was happening. He held a toy in his hand, a cheap action figure Emily once gave him, and placed it gently on the gravestone. "Mommy's gonna come back, right?" he asked. I squatted down and hugged him. "She's resting now," I whispered. "We're gonna be okay." He nodded, like he was trying to believe it. But I knew better. There would be scars. Maybe not visible. Maybe not today. But one day, Zach would understand everything. And I needed to be the father who could carry that weight for him. Months passed. Life settled. The media moved on from the scandal. Ryan Kim was convicted and sentenced to 3 years in prison for reckless endangerment. No parole. No appeals. Just a cell and time, something he tried to steal from my son. Emily's name faded from the headlines, then from the gossip, then slowly from memory. But not from mine. Never from mine. 1 year later, on February 14th, Valentine's Day, I was locking up the office late when Sarah showed up, coat wrapped tight, snowflakes in her hair, holding 2 cups of hot cocoa. "Happy Valentine's," she said, handing me one. "Didn't think you celebrated," I said. "I don't," she smirked. "But you looked like you could use sugar." We walked outside together. It had started snowing, quiet, light flakes drifting through the street lamps. "Wanna walk?" she asked. I nodded. We wandered past bakeries closing up, couples laughing in restaurants, a guy selling single-stem roses on the corner. One of them called out, "Miss. For your boyfriend?" She didn't hesitate. Paid in cash. Handed me the flower. I stared at it. "We're not, I know," she said. "It's just a rose." But we both knew it wasn't. At a crosswalk, we stopped under the red light. Music drifted out of a nearby cake shop, the kind of love song that usually made my skin crawl. But this time, it didn't. This time, I stood there and let it play. "James," Sarah said, tugging my sleeve, "wait here." She pulled a small silver box from her pocket and opened it. Inside was a sleek tie clip, simple, clean, engraved with tiny initials, JW. "I bought this for you 15 years ago," she said. "But I never gave it to you." "Why now?" I asked. "Because I finally think you'll let me." I stared at her. At the girl I'd once shared backyard tree forts with. The woman who stood beside me when no one else did. I took the box, clipped it onto my tie, and looked up. "Looks good," she said, brushing snow off my shoulder. And for the first time in years, I felt something like peace. Not forgiveness. Not forgetfulness. But peace. Emily Carter died full of regret. Ryan Kim was rotting in a cell. And the Yamas Walker was still standing, still breathing, still raising my son. The woman who betrayed me thought I'd fall apart. Instead, I built something stronger. Not just for revenge. Not just for Zach. But for myself. Because I refused to be a tragedy. And I damn sure wasn't going to be anyone's second choice again.